President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. And again, the floor is given to the Deputy Co-Prosecutor to put further questions to the witness. You may proceed.
Merci.
Thank you. Witness, I will not be too long. I have a few questions. First, regarding the executioners whom you saw execute the Vietnamese. Can you tell us about how many executioners were on site? That is to say, including those who escorted the victims towards the execution site, as well as those who actually carried out the executions.
I saw a group of three. Two escorted the person to the pit, and one was the executioner.
Est-ce que vous voulez dire qu'il n'y avait que 3 personnes?
So you mean there were only 3 people in total, even if the group was large? So in each time they would come with 2 people escorting and 1 person executing. So can you tell us if there were several groups of 3 people or only 1 single group of 3 executioners?
I saw I saw a person being walked by the 2 men, and the person who was being walked had his hands tied behind his back, and then the person was brought to the pit, and then the executioner at the pit would execute the person when the 2 men returns to bring another person to be executed.
Et donc, est-ce que c'était chaque fois?
So was it each time the same executioner who would carry out the executions, or would they change? Would they rotate?
They rotated. They actually took turns to execute the people. The 3 men actually rotated to be an executioner.
So based on what you saw, were these executioners soldiers or militiamen?
They were not soldiers. They were soldiers who based themselves there. I knew 2 of them, Kut and Mui. However, they all dead.
La traduction.
The French translation was a bit unclear. We heard that you were saying that they were not soldiers, and then we heard that they were soldiers. And among them there was Kut and Noi. So can you clarify again? Can you tell us if they were soldiers from the regional army or from the army, or were they militiamen? And I believe you said earlier that those who escorted the Vietnamese were armed. So you yourself, were you able to tell to which unit these executioners belonged?
At the pagoda, there were also a military unit which was based there, and there was also a group of militiamen based in the pagoda as well.
Et ceux qui
And the executioners, were they soldiers and militiamen at the same time, or they only belonged to one of those groups?
They were in the same unit and they were there together.
How old were these soldiers approximately, these executioners?
From my observation, Comrade Mui and Kut could be in their 60s at the present day or in late 50s. This is my rough estimate only. But those executioners are all dead.
Kut and Mui, whose names you mentioned, were they part of the Kuwait, in fact? Were they part of the commune or of the district?
I do not recall whether they belong to the commune or to the district. When I am not sure or when I do not know, I will say that I do not know.
Oui, c'est très bien.
Fine. Now, regarding the number of victims, I would like to make a distinction here, and you will assist me in this. So that's to say, a distinction between the number of people who were executed and whom you saw be executed, and the global figure or the global number of people who were in the library. First, can you tell us, during the period of time when you observed the executions, how many people approximately were executed next to the pit and next to the pagoda fence?
I saw several of them, but I did not count how many there were. However, I saw the library hall full of people, and my estimate of those people number was about 25.
So, I'm a little bit confused here. So, these 25 people, are these the 25 people you saw being executed? Or are these the 25 people whom you thought were in the library?
I provided you with an estimate of the number of the people in the library hall, and I cannot tell you all the number of people who were killed, since there were two phases of the killing.
I will get back to this second phase later. When Sing Sung testified here, he spoke about a range of 50 to 60 people whom he saw being executed, and he provided higher figures before. He had spoken about 70 to 80 people, or even 100. And both of you observed or witnessed the same events. So, is there anything there that can explain the difference in the assessment of the number of people who were executed there?
As I stated, I did not count. However, it is my estimate that there were 25 people in the library hall, and later on people were brought in and executed there. And there were 2 ponds, 1 small pond and 1 big pond. And for the second killing, they were also killed and the pond was filled. And there were even bodies at the rim of the pond. And that was a mass killing, and the bodies were into 100. However, as for the time that I saw the screaming and the execution, the number of people that I saw in the library hall at that time was about 25.
You spoke about a pond. Was this pond located within the Waksa compound or outside?
It was located outside the compound of Aksai Pagoda, and the well was also located outside the pagoda, but it was located close to the fence of the pagoda.
You spoke about 2 episodes. So, was the episode of the executions you witnessed the first time that an execution took place, or was the other event in which you said several hundred people had been executed at the same time took place before? So which event preceded, which event came first? The one during which you saw the executions, or the mass execution of the hundreds of people?
Regarding the episode where people were executed and put in the pond, I only saw dead bodies during the daytime, and I did not witness the killing. And only later on for the second episode, that when I witnessed with Sin Sung the execution of those people together with Takut Jima and Chantha.
Fine. Let me now turn back to the second event which you witnessed. You said that you had gone back afterwards to that site during the night of the executions. So why did you go back to that place? What was the purpose? And were you allowed to do so?
I went to that area and I did not enter their office. I remained outside the compound of the pagoda, and when I looked at the library hall, I saw the door was open and the hall was empty. And I, of course, knew that the people who were brought in yesterday afternoon were executed that night. And also during the morning, the next day, when I was there, I saw the dead bodies fill up the pit.
And the next day, did you see militiamen or soldiers within the pagoda compound? Or did they also leave the premises?
I saw them sitting in their office inside the compound of the pagoda. They wore a black uniform, but I did not dare enter the compound of the pagoda. I only walked along the fence of the pagoda.
So you saw gallbladders that were drying up on the fence, or on a tree rather. What else did you see at the place where the executions had taken place? Were there any traces of the executions?
Yes, I saw gallbladders hung up against the coconut tree leaf wall. I saw claps, bamboo claps, wooden claps left there.
And did you see bodies? Or was the pit covered up?
The pit was covered, but it was not fully covered. I could see limbs exposing from the earth.
Were you able to recognize Chanta's body that day? Or maybe I did not understand well what you had said before.
They were killed and placed in the pit, and of course I did not look inside the pit. I only saw the pit with the dirt covered.
So let me turn back to the first episode again. You said that hundreds of people had been executed. Do you have any elements regarding these people who were executed? Were they also Vietnamese, like during the second episode? And if that is the case, on which elements do you base yourself to state that?
Because I knew Takut, Jima, and Chanta clearly.
D'accord.
Fine. Let me get back to my question that wasn't properly phrased. In fact, you told us that there were 2 times when there were executions at Wak Sa, and you said that there had been about 25 people who were executed the night when you witnessed the executions, And you also said that before that, at the Wat Sa Pagoda, there had been other executions. And you mentioned that there was a pond and a well. And you said that there were about 100 bodies that had been thrown into the pond and into the well. So these people who were executed and thrown into the pond or the well, were they Vietnamese or not?
I could not see it clearly. I did not know whether they were all the bodies of Vietnamese or it was a mixture of Vietnamese, Khmer or Cham people. And I did not dare to go closer than that.
Earlier, I read the statements of Lon Kun, who explained that her husband of Vietnamese origin and her in-laws, as well as their children, had been executed at Wat Sa. And you said that this event was part of the first execution, the first mass execution at the pagoda. So, did I understand properly what you said? That is to say that Long Kun's family was killed at a different moment from Chanta's family.
They were related to Chanta and his name was Lon Kun. She was related to the Vietnamese.
Bon, je crois que je vais en rester là.
Well, thanks. I think I will stop here. Thank you very much, witness, for having answered my questions. I'm now going to give the floor to the civil party lawyers. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
President, thank you, Deputy Co-Prosecutor, and I'd like now to hand the floor to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to put questions to the witness. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Marie Guiraud. I represent the collective of the civil parties in this case, and I have a few very short questions to put to you this afternoon. You said earlier that two types of people had taken part in the execution, and in particular in the execution of Chanta. There were people among them who were part of a military unit that was stationed at the pagoda, and there were also people who were militiamen. So did I understand you correctly?
Yes, that is correct. I agree with your statement.
And this military unit that you spoke about, was it stationed at the Ksak Pagoda?
Yes, they stationed in the Ksak Pagoda.
Do you remember when this military unit arrived in Ksak village?
From my understanding and recollection, it started since 1975 and it continued through 76, 77, 78, and 79. President, witness, please hold on. There is no sound going through the Khmer channel. Lead co-lawyer for civil parties, please repeat your last question, since there was a technical glitch where the Khmer channel was not heard through.
I believe my last question was, when did the military unit arrive in Ksak village?
It started since 1975 and it continued throughout through 1979.
So was the military unit stationed on a permanent basis in the village and stationed at the pagoda? Do you remember?
Yes, they were stationed permanently there in the village, and specifically that is in the pagoda.
Did you know back then where this military unit came from? Did it come from the district, from the region? Did you have any kind of information in that regard back then?
No, I did not know from which level they came, or which zone they came, or whether they belonged to the district or a commune level. I could only remember some comrades, namely Ri, Soon, and Lun, who were in charge in that location.
What kind of duties did they perform?
They were overall in charge of the local administrations, including the commune and the district. This group of people were overall in charge in the area.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Earlier you spoke about Kut and Noi, whom you knew, and who, according to your memories, took part in the execution you described. Can you tell us if Kut and Noi were members of the military unit or of the militia?
They were militiamen. I refer here to Khut and Mui. They were the militiamen belonged to the commune. Ri, Lun, and Soon were at higher hierarchy, and they were overall in charge. I did not know from where Ri came, but the other one came from Kampong Cham province.
Et est-ce que j'ai bien compris?
And did I properly understand your testimony when you said a while ago that you recognize Kut and Moi among the persons who had carried out executions of persons of Vietnamese origin? Is that indeed what you said a while ago?
Yes, that's what I've testified just a while ago.
Avez-vous revu?
Did you subsequently see Kut and Moi in the village? That is after the executions. i.e. before January 1979?
Answer. Later on, I saw them for a brief moment when the pigs were slaughtered for meats in Kampong Kadai, and I did not see them from that time onward.
Avez-vous entendu quelqu'un?
Did you hear anything said after the executions regarding what had happened at Sat Pagoda and the involvement of Kut and Moy in those executions? Is that something that was discussed thereafter?
Answer. No, it appears not. No one had further discussion about Kut and Mui. And I did not know another individual mentioned by you. I did not know where he was from.
Pour être clair,
To be sure that I have properly understood you, did you recognize any other persons other than Kut and Moy? That is, apart from those two, were there any other executioners?
No one else. I recall that there were Kut and Mui. But there were three people in charge of the area, Suan, Ri, and another individual, Kun.
et concernant l'autre événement,
And as regards the other event which you described earlier, when you answered questions put to you by the co-prosecutors, that is the massacres of hundreds of people, did you have any other information regarding those massacres?
I have no idea about the lake. What I know is that there was a pond, there was a small pond where the execution took place, not the lake.
et saviez-vous à l'époque
And during that period, did you know who carried out those executions?
Answer, no, I do not know.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you, witness. I have no further questions for the witness, Mr. President.
President, thank you. Now the chamber gives the floor to the defense teams for the accused to put questions to the witness. Starting first from the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chie. You have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I shall be very, very brief today. As a matter of fact, I only have one question that I would like to put to you, because with all due respect, I don't believe a word of your story. So I'm putting it to you that, as a matter of fact, you never witnessed any executions between 75 and 79. You never saw any dead bodies near Vaksa. You never heard any prisoners in the Wat, in the library of the Wat. As a matter of fact, the situation was like one of the witnesses described.
President, Counsel, please do not use this forum to make your own conclusion on the testimony of this witness. By doing so, you will try to frighten the witness and make him lose confidence before the chamber. You are not entitled to make a conclusion on the testimony of this witness. There will be time where you can make your conclusion.
Very well, Mr. President, but I think I'm allowed to ask the question whether it's not true that in fact he never saw any executions, that he never saw any dead bodies at the pagoda, that he never saw any...
I have heard your conclusion. I have observed that the other party on the other side of the bench have put question to this witness. And once again, you please do not use the venue to make conclusion of the testimony by the witness. And please do not use any strategy to make the witness before the chamber lose confidence in the chamber. You are entitled to put questions to this witness and try to prove what is not true in the statement. You are not entitled now to make a conclusion. There will be time at the end for you to make a closing statement.
So are you saying, Mr. President, I'm not allowed to ask the question whether the witness is in fact lying?
President, you are not allowed to put such a question.
Fine.
President, now it is time for the defense team. For Mr. Kirsampon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, for my part, have a number of questions to put to the witness. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Anta Gise. I am International Co-Counsel for Mr. Kirsampan. And in this capacity, I will put a number of questions to you. For a start, may I request you to pay particular attention to the questions I will put to you. I'll try to ask short and precise questions to you, and may I also ask you to respond to those questions as concisely and as precisely as possible. The first question has to do with your life experiences. You said that during the Democratic Cambodia regime, you were a member of a mobile unit. Did I properly understand your testimony?
Answer, yes, indeed. I was in a mobile unit in a cooperative in a village.
Est-ce que vous pouvez indiquer à la Chambre?
Can you tell the chamber what were your duties and responsibilities in that mobile unit? What were you doing in concrete terms?
I was advised to cut Kantiang kite plants to make fertilizer, and I was also instructed to find fish. I had no free time. I mostly was stationed close to the river within the area of my cooperative.
Est-ce que vous pouvez indiquer?
Can you say whether those duties and responsibilities were what you did during the Democratic Cambodia regime from 1975 to 1979? Did you carry out the same duties and responsibilities during that period?
Answer. I was assigned to stand guard at night time and I had a night shift work standing guard in the village.
Vous montiez la garde à quel titre?
In what capacity did you stand guard and where?
Excusez-moi, monsieur le témoin, je vous rappelle.
Court's indulgence, may I inform your witness that you should only speak when your microphone is on, otherwise no one would hear you.
Answer: no weapon. I had no weapon with me. I had the sickle and sometimes knife. At that time, I had no weapon with me when I stood guard.
La question que je vous posais exacte, c'était de...
The exact question I put to you was, in what capacity did you stand guard? Were you a militia man?
Answer: I was simply an ordinary citizen. However, I, together with other citizens, was assigned to stand guard in the village.
Je n'ai pas de traduction en français.
I haven't received any interpretation in French.
We citizens had a duty to be a guard at night time. For instance, I would be assigned to stand guard at night time for half an hour or 1 hour per night, and this same task was done by other citizens as well. During the daytime, I was assigned to go and find fish and also to make a fertilizer out of contaminated plants. If I did not perform my duties, I would not be provided with porridge.
Monsieur le témoin,
Witness, may I again repeat to you that I am trying to put precise questions to you, and I would like you to answer those questions as concisely and as precisely as possible. I have heard your prior responses, and I would like you to listen to my questions very carefully. You were in charge of mounting guard or standing guard, and that was for the party. Was that in your capacity as a member of a mobile unit or as a soldier, as you referred to a while ago?
The village chief or the chief of 10 family unit assigned us to stand guard at night time.
et vous, où étiez-vous chargé?
And where were you assigned to stand guard? In what part of the village were you assigned to stand guard?
I was assigned to stand guard along the road in the village. I was not told to stand guard in the pagoda, since guards at the pagoda were armed with weapons. People were allowed to walk freely into the pagoda during the daytime, but not at night time. Rather, people were allowed to walk within the area of cooperative or work sites. However, at night time, they were forbidden from walking into the work sites.
Où est-ce que vous alliez dormir le soir?
Where did you go to sleep in the evening? Or perhaps I should put the question in other terms. Up to what time did you work during the day? What were your working hours during the day?
Answer. Actually, we had there was a group of us standing guard, and we had different shifts during the night time. After our shift, we were allowed to go back home.
Vous n'avez pas répondu précisément à ma...
You haven't answered my question as precisely as required. Let me repeat my question. What were your working hours during the day? You answered the question by talking about the work you had done, the cooperative previously. You looked for manure, as you said. I'm asking for your working hours. You can talk to me about what you did as a guard later on. But for the now, please tell me what your working hours were.
Answer. No. During the daytime, I did not stand guard. We were instructed to go to work in different workstations. At night time, as I said, we were assigned to stand guard on our particular destination.
Ça, j'ai bien compris, monsieur le témoin, pendant la journée.
I have indeed understood that, witness. During the day, you collected manure and you went fishing. But my question is, what were your working hours while you went fishing and you gathered manure? That is what I expect of you to tell me for how many hours you did that.
It depended on the situation. Sometimes I would leave for work from the morning until late evening. So it depended on the day.
Quelle était l'heure à laquelle vous rentriez au village
At the very earliest, at what time did you return to the village? That is in general terms. I reckon you did say that sometimes you ended late and at other times you ended your work early. When you ended your work late, when did you get back home?
The latest was 5 in the evening. Sometime I would return to my village before 5 p.m.
Et lorsque vous reveniez...
And when you returned home earlier, that is to the village, did you go straight to your home?
Answer. Yes, you are right. Since after I got home, it was time that I was allowed to go to have the porridge. Otherwise, I did not have the porridge to eat. President, Mr. Witness, please try to limit your answer. Do not try to expand your answer. Answer what you are asked.
Donc ma question, c'était après votre journée de travail.
The question was, after your day's work, when you returned home earlier, did you go straight to your house?
Answer, yes. I directly went home.
Vous avez indiqué qu'il y avait un...
You stated that at a point in time you had your meals. So my question is as follows: at what specific time did you have your meals in the cooperative?
Answer. Sometimes we had a dinner at 5 or 6 p.m. after the bell was rung. And if we were late to dinner, we would have nothing to eat.
Vous avez évoqué une cloche. Est-ce que je dois...
You talked of a bell. Do I understand that everyone ate at the same time?
Answer, yes, that is right.
Est-ce que vous pouvez m'indiquer...
Tell me, Where did you sleep in the evenings, and how far was that place from the Sak Pagoda?
Answer: we slept in our respective houses, but we had to go to the dining hall eating collectively.
Donc ma question est toujours la même.
I will ask the same question again. How far was the place where you slept from the pagoda? I mean, your home, how far was it from the pagoda?
It was about 300 meters away from my house to the Sak Pagoda.
Est-ce que vous avez, entre 75 et 79, toujours...
Between 1975 and 1979, did you stay at the same home throughout that period?
Answer: yes, I stayed at the same home.
Et maintenant, l'endroit...
Now, how far was the canteen where you ate from the pagoda?
It was quite far. It was further away compared to my house to the pagoda. Perhaps the distance was about 500 meters.
Quand vous finissiez tôt,
When you ended work early, did you go directly to your home or you went straight to the canteen?
Answer: after work, I went home directly, and I would go to the canteen or the dining hall after I heard the bell ringing. I did not want to be late, otherwise there was no meal for me.
je voudrais maintenant en venir à votre...
I would like us now to talk about your comrade, Sing Sung. You have stated that you were close. As regards your home in relation to his, how far was your home from his?
It was about 100 meters away. We worked together, and at the time he was younger than me, and he was also smaller than me.
Quand vous dites vous travaillez ensemble,
When you say that you work together, does that mean that he also gathered manure and went fishing as you did?
Answer: he did not go to find fish with me. I went to find fish with a jing and mud. Sien Song never attended our group finding fish.
alors est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer
In that case, can you explain what you mean when you say that we worked together?
Answer: in fact, he and I went to see what was happening. President, Mr. Witness, please listen carefully to the question before you give your answer. I have reminded you from time to time about this matter.
Je vais donc reposer ma question. Tout à l'heure, quand je vous...
Let me repeat my question. When you talked of Sisung, earlier, you said that we work together. And my question is, if he did not work with you when you went fishing and when you gathered manure, what then do you mean when you say that we work together?
Answer. One day he was with me. In fact, we were not together all the time, all day. We would be working in different workstations. For instance, on one particular day, he was with me, and mostly we were away in our different working places.
Et lui, est-ce que vous savez dans quelle unité il...
And do you know in what unit he was working and what exactly he did?
Answer. We were in a children unit, but had different tasks to perform. One had to go and tend cows and cattle, and the other one had to go and make the fertilizer.
Je conclus de votre réponse que lui s'occupait du bétail.
I take it from your answer that he was in charge of herding cattle, is that correct?
Yes, you are right. He was in the group in charge of herding cattle and cows, and I was assigned to work in a cooperative having different tasks. But sometimes we were together, particularly we were having meals together.
Vous avez, maintenant j'en viens.
I'd like us to talk about your second job, since you said that you were also in charge of standing guard, guarding the road. Can you tell us, during what hours you guarded the road? Was it the same period, and if yes, which period, and how was that organized?
Answer. We had different shifts of guarding. For instance, if there was a group consisted of 10 people, we would be on duty for half an hour or 1 hour per time, and then the other person came to replace us.
Et
And the last point before we break, you said that you were often with Sing Sung. So my question is, after the end of the DK regime, after 1979, did you stay in touch with Sing Sung? And if so is the case, have you seen him recently?
Answer. I have never seen him, but recently he is living in Klang at the moment, and we used to live together.
quand vous dites
When you said we were living together, can you be more specific about that?
Answer. We used to live in the same village, but now we are living in different villages.
et
And when did you see him for the last time?
Answer. We parted each other from the Liberation Day. President, thank you. It is now time for the adjournment, and the hearing will resume tomorrow, rather on 11 December 2015 at 9 a.m. On Friday, 11 December 2015, the Chamber will continue hearing the testimony of Sun, and then the Chamber will perhaps continue to hear 2 TCW 848. Thank you, Mr. Witness. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has not come to an end yet. You are therefore invited to be here once again to testify on Friday, 11 December 2015 at 9 a.m. Court officers, please work with Wesu to send Mr. Sum back to the place where he is staying at the moment, and please invite him into the courtroom at 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring the two accused, Kielsampon and Nunjia, back to the detention facility of the ECCC and have them returned on 11 December 2015 at 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.